All right. Father, thank you for this time with Jimmy and Yali, Wong. Lord, I pray that you would anoint them to speak what you want us to know about Israel, what you want us to know about what you are doing in the earth, Father, and how we can participate in the name of Yeshua. Amen. All right. You want to trade seats with Jimmy?
And I'll bring you some water.
Oh, thank you. Come over here, Jimmy, and Yali, you can come and we'll see if we can all get into the picture here and get going. So I've known Jimmy and Yali for about 5 years. We met actually in 2019, I believe it was, at our FFI conference. And that was actually on a cruise ship. And so I've gotten to know Jimmy and Yali over the years. Obviously, they were born in China. You can tell by looking at their faces. And they grew up in Canada. But God gave them a heart for Israel. And so they purchased a house in Jerusalem. They were living in Jerusalem last year, actually, on October 7th, when the Hamas massacre took place. And so let's just start with a little bit of history, Jimmy and Yali, if you can tell us, you are business people. You've started businesses in China, in Taiwan, in Israel, many places. So why did you get interested in Israel? How did that happen? And why is a Chinese person traveling around the world talking to people about Israel?
Wow, that's a long answer, I suppose, but let me make it short. Why we're related to Israel. I think the journey started in 2003. Is when my pastors, he's actually 100 years old now. He's a
100-year-old pastor.
Yes, we celebrate his birthday in June, a few months ago. He have actually took in the Chinese people, the pastor, to Israel in 1973. That's right. So he back then, 2003, he kind of said, well, you need to go to Israel to look at for a deeper study of the faith of a Christian faith. So I think that that's what the whole journey started. And I can go into a little more at a time, because what the challenge is what we learned from Israel is, I think people always get confused. Is it when I talk about Israel, there's always sometimes a confusion into that, because there's two ditches. You got one side is of course we know the theory, the idea of replacement theology, meaning that the church have now replaced it, the chosen people, the covenant, the promise of Abraham.
Right.
Of course, that's definitely not the case.
Right.
We know that. And that's what we call the Kingdom Ambassador, conference here. The other ditch, however, is the rabbinical thing that we got to be careful on, because I see a lot of people, including the Chinese or the Asian, the Singaporean, the Brazilians, Canadians, Americans. You go there and you kind of embrace everything. I mean, like Israel is the everything's holy. Well, we know it's not. Okay, it's holy because only one reason, because it's God, right? He called us to separate to Him. I mean, that's the key to holiness. So, I mean, that's the journey we took us, and so I learned a lot from that. I think that we can discuss more.
Well, you were telling me a story yesterday about how in your early years of business you worked for a Jewish man, and then there was some conflict between you, and you got wounded, and you felt mistreated and cheated, perhaps, and in your heart you were angry with this man. And what did your pastor tell you?
Yeah, that was a big part of my journey, learning about I guess the journey of learning about faith, what it really is. Yes, I somehow the Lord have always, I've been working with the Jewish people for a long time. And that was when I was 19 years old. You know, it's many years ago. And we did have a big conflict. And, you know, I worked for him for close to, 15 years, I suppose. Yeah. And then, anyway, the story short is, we got hurt from that, and because we do a lot of things, and I was the one who took the company to Asia, and to Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Hong Kong, Taiwan, and back then in China. So, but anyway, but when I explained to my pastor at the time, and he brings out Genesis 12. Genesis 12, of course, we all know Genesis 12:3. If we can go to that. Kirk, you want to help me to read that?
Yeah, I'll read Genesis 12, verse 3.
Yeah.
It says, and I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. So your pastor tells you that.
Yeah. I thought, well, what happened if they're not right? I got hurt, right?
What happens if the Jewish man is unjust and cheats you and hurts you and mistreats you and abuses you?
Yeah, of course, he's a powerful businessman, but we went through some, disagreement, and I thought I did the things I did right, and he didn't. So, but anyway, but my pastor said, well, I guess my pastor also agreed with me. He said, yeah, I mean, as a human being, I mean, I would probably break his neck. So that was a surprise to me. I was okay. The pastor said that, so I got a little comfort. But then he said, well, let's go back to what do we read in Genesis 12? Is to bless according to the Bible. God gave the promise to Abraham, and we need to, if we are faithful, the believer, we need to, to observe that, and to bless them. So that was a big thing for me to learn. What I learned from that conversation was tough because, because I got hurt. Me and my wife too. So, and we worked together for that company. So, but then the surprising thing, this old pastor at that time, so he's
80 years old.
Yeah, he's 80. Yeah, he's 80. No, yeah. So anyway. And he said, well, Jimmy, listen to what I said. I didn't ask you whether you can forgive him. Is it, because he obviously there's some damage there. He said, according to him, he will break his neck too. But he said, I didn't ask you that. I said, are you willing, according to the Bible, what you just read, the promise that God gave to Abraham. Well, I said, well, okay. Well, I saw so much anger towards him still. Just like now, Israel. So, we need to be careful, because I go back to the story here. When we talk about Israel, we got to be careful. Sometimes we put Israel unfortunately, sometimes it could be a word of idol. And that's not the right place to put Israel also. I mean, anything as idol. We need to always to remember Israel is to bring out the God of Israel. That is the core to it. It's not about Israel. It's about it's not only about Israel. Brings out to be about the God of Israel. I think that's something we need to be very careful to be involved in. And that's what my pastor brings to that process, the pastors too. So it's not about the Jewish people. I have to be, to
agree with everything they do. Right. A lot of times they do things that are not right.
Right, correct. So, but are we willing? Wow, that's something that's challenging at that time, right? So I said, well, Pastor, okay, I'm willing, but I don't know how. He's bringing me to this prayer, and to forgive him, and to bless him. So that's how the journey began.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a journey. Yeah.
Let me just read something I think that might be pertinent. In Ezekiel 36. Let's see. I think, let me find what I want. Down in verse 22 of Ezekiel 36, it says, therefore say to the house of Israel, thus says the Lord God, it is not for your sake, O house of Israel, that I'm about to act, but for my holy name, which you have profaned among the nations where you went. Now, this is an interesting thing that we need to understand about Israel, and we need to understand about kingdom ambassadors. There was a call of God upon Israel. And what was the purpose? What was the call of God upon Israel? It was to proclaim the name of Yahweh throughout the earth. So we know Yahweh is the creator God. He is the Echad. He's the only one who is infinite, who is who is the only one who has created everything. Everything emanates from him. He created a bunch of angelic beings the Bible calls Elohim.
Yeah.
And some of these became corrupt. We know about the most famous one, of course, is Lucifer, the one we call Hashatan or Satan. And this is one of the corrupt Elohim, but there were a host of corrupt Elohim. The book of Enoch talks about 200 of them coming down on Mount Hermon and doing very evil things on the earth, capturing nations. There's been a battle ever since the time of Genesis chapter 3 verse 15 between the seed of the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. The seed of the serpent is the seed of the corrupt Elohim, who have since Genesis 3:15 been attempting to bring corruption on this earth and to corrupt the DNA of men and women on planet Earth. And there has been this battle of what some call the seed wars, the war between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. And we know Messiah was the one who was prophesied in Genesis 3:15 that would come and crush the head of the serpent. And he has done everything to try to keep his head from being crushed. But what we need to understand here as we read in Genesis 36, God chose one of the nations out of all the nations. He chose a man named Abraham, and there was a destiny and a purpose for Abraham. And what it basically was to be a kingdom ambassador. He's saying, I have chosen this nation of Israel to be my ambassadors on the earth. He didn't choose the Norwegian people, which is where I come from.
Or the Chinese people.
He didn't choose the Chinese people. He chose Abraham. And he said, I will, he didn't choose the house of Oli and Sven. He didn't choose the house of Wong or who else? Lee. He chose the house of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, the house of Judah, to represent him on this planet Earth out of all the nations. And Israel had one assignment. Their assignment was to demonstrate and bring forth the Echad, the one who is the creator, Yahweh, who is different than Marduk, different than Baal, different than Molech, different than Osiris, Isis, Ashtaroth, Ishtar, Thor, the gods of the Greeks, the gods of the Romans, the gods of the Egyptians. These are all corrupt Elohim that wanted worship from all these nations. And Israel was chosen. And here's what God said: your purpose is to bring forth my glory. Your purpose is to demonstrate who Yahweh is, that there is an absolute distinction between the creator God and the created Elohim, who want to represent themselves as gods and try to derive worship. But the problem with Israel is they continually failed in this mission. Everywhere they went, they wanted to become they wanted to worship the other gods. They wanted to participate in the practices of the nations, the idolatry of the nations. And we find in Ezekiel 36, Yahweh says, it's not for your sake, O house of Israel, that I'm about to act, but for my holy name, which you have profaned among the nations where you went. I will vindicate the holiness of my great name. Again, holy doesn't mean righteous. It means separate, set aside, distinct. In other words, this is the only one who is the creator. And what is at stake is whether people can come into relationship with him, whether people can come to know him or not. And it's his ambassadors on planet Earth that create a way for people to come into relationship with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to come into relationship and come into the kingdom by the blood of Messiah, Yeshua. and he said, you have profaned my name among the nations. Then the nations, he said, but I'm about to act, and then the nations will know that I am the Lord, declares the Lord God, when I prove myself holy among you in their sight, which means distinct, separate, different. For I will take you, Israel, from the nations, gather you from all the lands, bring you into your own land. Okay, there was the people of Israel were dispersed throughout the nations for over 2,000 years. And in 1948, a unique event happened. They were brought back to the land and given political authority over the land. That shifted something in God's cosmic plan. That was a fulfillment of something of Israel, these people being restored. Now, are these people all righteous? No, a lot of them are ungodly people. I mean, hard sometimes to find a believer in Yahweh in Israel. This is a secular nation that's full of people that are not particularly godly, are not Torah followers. They're not Yahweh followers. They're well, I want to mention the evil that a lot of people are into in Israel. And if you've never been there, a lot of people think, oh, we're going to find all these people that are just loving God and walking in the ways of God. Well, there are some, like there are in all the nations, but a large number of them are not those people.
Right.
But he said, I will gather you and I will deposit you in this land, and I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean, and I will cleanse you from all your filthiness and from your idols. Moreover, I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit within you. I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh, and I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will be careful to observe my ordinances, and you will live in the land that I gave to your forefathers, and you will be my people, and I will be your God. Why am I reading that? That is what we are supporting.
Yeah.
That is what we are praying for. That is why we go to Israel. That is why we live in Israel, is not because, oh, all the Jewish people are doing what's right. Oh, we support everything that they're doing.
All holy people.
Yeah. No, the reason is because this is what Yahweh said. This is what he is doing. We are for his plan.
Amen.
We're for what he wants to do amongst his people, even though we observe there are a lot of people that are still doing the first part of Ezekiel 36, profaning his name everywhere they go. But that doesn't mean that we abandon them, that we curse them, because we read in Genesis 12:3 that would not be a good idea to curse them. But we are the ones that are to support what Yahweh is doing in Israel. So what is Yahweh doing in Israel? Since you've been there, you've been living there, what's your observation?
Wow. Now is a very sensitive time. We've been in Israel since 2011. And in fact, one big event that's happening is last year, and I think everybody should know about October 7th. Last year when the Hamas, the big terrorist attack in Jerusalem, we were there. Okay, so
tell us your experience. Where were you when the attack occurred? Where is your house in Jerusalem?
Yeah, we live in Jerusalem, so we could. Where my house? Okay, here's where my house. I get the.
I'll go get you.
I have here.
Okay.
Yeah, see this is looking out from a window, and here is the Mount. Here is Mount Zion.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what the upper room is. That's what the picture from my house here. So we are looking in front of us, Mount Zion, Temple Mount, and actually Mount Olives. Okay, and because when we talk about Israel, we have a lot of topics to talk about. We can talk about 3 mountains. There's Mount Zion, where God gave the Torah to Mount Zion when the Holy Spirit came down. So now we got God's law, and then got God's Spirit, and then we're looking this way, Mount Olives, when Yeshua come back. So anyway, we can talk about next time if people are interested. But that day we were celebrating the feast of Sukkot, Tabernacle, which means In fact, all Christians should know that that is a biblical feast. People actually make a mistake, sometimes say, well, that's a Jewish feast. And yeah, it's funny. Sometimes it's funny where we get Jewish feast came from. I think maybe that from the media or from whatever we're reading, but actually from the Bible that Craig's reading, you guys can check it out too. It always say the feast of Adonai, the feast of God. Never once it said the feast of the Jewish people. So we were there for celebrate the feast of Sukkot, which is the seventh feast, because we got Passover, the unleavened bread, the first fruit, the Pentecost, and then you have now we're here. We celebrate quick here
Yom
the
Teruah.
Yom Teruah, which is the feast of trumpet, and then 10 days from now, we're flying back. In fact, next week to celebrate this the feast of Yom Kippur, the feast of Atonement, and then the feast of Sukkot, which is Tabernacle. So we were there the last day of Tabernacle. Of course, even Jesus talked about that in John, the Gospel of John, the biggest day, the happiest day, he called it. So we're very enjoying the feast. A lot of people coming home. We celebrated that night until midnight. People went home. So that was also on Shabbat, on Friday. So on Saturday, on the 8th day, we're supposed to celebrate the feast of Torah, the Simchat Torah. So we, the morning we wake up, this crazy siren come up at 8 o'clock. And that's, what is this sound? I wake up my wife. It's not correct. Somebody knock on the door. I said, Jimmy, you need to go. I said, what is this? Oh, there's a siren. So we went downstairs. First, 8 o'clock. It's funny, we're the only Gentile people, it's Chinese, Canadian, Gentile here, and celebrate there. We went down to the bunker together the first time. Everybody's all still in a mess and pajama and everything, and yeah, it was crazy. But so we featured each other in that room, the bunker with let me see, with about 20 something people. This building we live in. So we go back up. 15 minutes, we went back down again. So anyway, back and forth from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. 8 times we went down to the bunker. But something happened here. I want to encourage our view here, okay? Because the church has always been praying for Israel. And now, this year, since October 7th, I realized something now. This is the opening also. I think God created this opening for the ecclesia, for his believer to stand in. What I mean by that is that day, after the 3 or 4 times, we went down the bunker, the dynamic changed. Our Jewish friends are starting really, I guess, welcoming us, because we're all in one little bunker and everybody's together there, right? But I love it because I also learned the sense of the Jewish humor. What I really appreciate that, because even in the difficult time running to the bunker, so on the 5th time, the guys bring down their wine that didn't finish yesterday, so give people a glass of wine, and then people bring down the baking cookies that we share. I said, this is something in the middle of war and craziness, and they're okay. Well, let's drink anyway. And then on the 7th, 8th time, we start praying Psalm 91. Okay, and praying together. At that moment, there's no more what Paul saw. Paul's quite prophetic. There's no more the Jew or the Gentile. We're just praying Psalm 91 out loud and praying to, Abba, our Father in heaven, for the protection for Israel. And that was a beautiful thing. So, and after that, at 12 o'clock, finally, everything's clear up. My daughter and my son-in-law take the piano and went up to the sukkah. Remember, the sukkah is not down yet. We still have the sukkah up there. And I send you guys a picture if you want. So they were trying to set up with their piano, and they were playing worship to thank the Lord. So imagine that was actually quite beautiful, because then our Jewish neighbor came up there and say, well, you guys are worshiping? Yeah, we're worshiping. We thank the Lord for protection. So somehow, we didn't put a cross in our head. We didn't, but so they know we're worshiping the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In fact, something I think that's something there's some healing factor there. Let our elder brother, I would say, that's what the Bible says, in Exodus, God say, Israel, my elder son. So we must understand that, from even from many scripture, but even from Romans 11, where we talk about Paul talk about that. You know, we are the wild olives that we pluck into the wild olives. So that was an incredible time to be in that country last year in that chaos. Now, of course, that chaos unfortunately escalate more and more now. I mean, I can talk about later in the time. Yeah. So, but please do pray for Israel. Yeah.
Okay. So Yali, what was your experience in the bunker on October 7th? What were you afraid, or were you excited, or were you just numb, or what were you thinking?
Actually, at the moment, we went down, but for me, I've been in Israel for quite a while, and
You go to school there?
I go to school to, sometimes only myself, and then previous time they also have sirens, and then one time I think I say, oh Lord, if something no electricity, where's my husband put the the torch? Where he put? I cannot find. And then suddenly I pull out my phone, and then the phone turn on the light on my phone, have a torch there. I was like, God, give me confirmation right there. And then it's like my comfort God with me. So, and then I had this kind of experience. So at the moment, October 7th, for me, I still feel so alone inside. So that's why when I go down there, some of the other guys ask me, say, oh,
you scared?
Yeah, he feel like a sense of shalom from us.
From us, yeah.
He's more
From
scared.
Gentile.
Like,
They were feeling God's shalom
Yeah.
flowing through you toward them.
Yeah. I don't really
That's funny, yeah.
feel like that,
Yeah.
like scared. But for them, they say, oh, you are feel
You guys
like
not scared?
yeah, you are not scared. That's what he asked me. I say, oh, I
know,
feel like God will protect us. So, but on the other hand, I can feel they're nervous, because as a mom or grandmothers, they will right away. I see their kids have to send to the army. That's their hearts is
Worry.
like deep worry. I can sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then like for us, and then like I was being in Israel for so long, and a few times like God really, when I pray for my son, say my older son, I have tough times sometimes. My son like hurt me. I cry to God. I say my son's like that. God respond me. My son, elder son, Israel is like that. Now you can feel my heart pain. And then I was like, oh, and then it's God's heart. They love his elder son. So that's I can sense though. So we connect to the land, not because we just love Israel, but we sense God's heart is in Israel. And then we seek his heart,
the father's heart. Yeah.
Father's heart. Like I can sense that God really want his elder son to come back, like come back to turn back to him.
Yeah.
That's I really.
What is it?
We were muted.
We're muted?
How long have we been muted?
About 15 seconds, Pastor Craig.
Okay.
15 seconds. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Yali.
Yeah. So I can sense after 2 or 3 days, it's very tense. Like the atmosphere is really like feel, of course, because it's very tense, because they have terrorism, they smuggling and they into the city.
Yeah.
That's why you don't know where they are. So they order Israeli have to keep at home, don't go out. So you can sense this is real. This is in a war zone. So actually, you can sense from the spirit also, but that's what we feel. And then we pray with them. That's what we do. Like we ask God's Israel to protect them. Yeah.
Okay. And tell us a little bit, what is your attitude toward the Palestinian people in Gaza? Because we hear, so there's a lot of anti-Semitism, anti-Israeli demonstrations going on or have been going on in the United States, and proclaiming, well, Israel is unjust. Israel is committing genocide. Israel is killing hundreds of thousands or millions of Palestinians in Gaza. And from your experience of being there, how do you respond to people that are saying that?
May I? You want to ask her? Or
I'm
answer?
asking you. Yeah,
Oh,
either
okay.
of you. You
Okay.
can speak.
Yeah, because that's an interesting question. That's why I want to answer that to our
Yeah, please
our
answer
friends here,
that.
because that's probably one of the most asked question for this. Is a good question to ask. As
Mhm.
as we are, reading the Bible to be learning God's, what is God's righteous, things. That's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
So, if I may take this opportunity to explain that what we learned.
Mhm.
Now, we do have some privilege in that, because my partner, my Israeli partner, he's actually a Messianic, the Jewish, the Messianic believer. He came from a pastoral background. His mom and dad, and he's in a pastor ministry. I wouldn't reveal his name, but he's actually would call back. The October 7th, he's called back to serve the army for. He's 40 years old. He haven't been. He's finished the army, but on the reserve. But he and his brother-in-law, because they have seven. There were seven siblings. 3 of them are guys, and they all went back to the army immediately. Okay, his brother was involved in with the 300 people, guarding the villages. But he was responsible for one unit, the information unit, reporting back to the defense ministers, and so that information I respond to you, probably not on the news, but we understand that. So his job is to take the reporter all over the world, from USA, from Canada, Australia, Brazil, everywhere, except the Chinese reporter. Okay, I can go to that later. Okay, so there's a reason for that. All the country except that. So I was sad because the Chinese report was rejected. Anyway, so he went around to go through, very painful for him, because we were helping doing the to help them for deliverance, for healing, but it's tough. That's why anyway, I do a little advertising here. Jesus, the wonderful counselor, is for him, because because when you do this, you take to all the sites, you see death, you see babies really burn. I'm sorry, I hope there's no kids here. Anyway, in the it's very stuff they talk about. It's true. He's there. So that's happening. Okay, the world sometimes kind of downplay it, but you can downplay it. Okay, my friend have 9 years on that, and he's a believer. It's really tough. Anyway, so he's also explained to me the question I'm trying to approach to what you're talking about in Gaza now. Now, first of all, the ministry of Gaza talk about, well, there was about 50,000 people die in the whole Gaza thing with their. Remember, Israel is going after Hamas, not Gaza. We must separate that. Okay. Now the fact is this: probably it's not 50,000 now. I think I quoted 2 weeks ago. I look at it together. Maybe is about 30,000. Now I want to be clear: any one life lost is a life loss, and I think God values life. Okay, we must understand that. Whether that was people in Gaza, or whether that people in Israel, or anywhere in the country, like we just prayed the starting of this ministry for the people who've been trapped in there. It's devastating. Okay, so we must have that understanding. So, but we respond that the question though is, no, it is war. Let's not forget that. Even Christians not forget that. So I think I have two parts to talk about this question that you're asking, which is a very good question. Now, if the world say, yes, there's war, there are civilians die in Gaza. It is war. Okay. Now I explain later on how the Israelis tackle this, but there is war over the world. I'm not trying to protect Israel, but there's war in my country. People die in Quebec, and and there's war. There's things in Congo. There's things in Africa. You're not talking about 30,000. You're talking about 300,000. Now, if UN use the same standard to judge the way they judge Israel, like the just China or other thing, then we should have the same standard, not the double standard. And what I'm trying to say is this, okay? So I'm not. Please understand me. I'm not justify here. I'm just saying the standard we're playing here,
Mhm.
and I'm going to say now. Why is this? People always. I mean, why they always judges Israel? Great question. Because Israel, that's what I think that's the topic today.
Mhm.
Because God have separated a country from the universe. He make a land called Earth. From the Earth, he make a land. He put a land called Israel. From Israel, he put a land called Jerusalem. So I mean, that's how God worked. Okay, so it's the Hebrew word ha, mean that area, which he called holy to it. Okay, so that's probably another topic we talk about, but that's another thing we talk about, the understanding of Israel. So the faith in Jesus, which meaning we take Jesus, understand that the Lord Jesus have died on the cross for us for salvation. That's one understanding of it, and one level of understanding. And then we have another level of understanding, the faith of Yeshua. You know, what is the faith of Yeshua? The reason why the whole world is judging on Israel is because of our Messiah, Jesus. Because they know it came from a nation called Israel. Okay, so Israel, unfortunately, will be judged. If God picked the Messiah, like Jesus came from America. Don't worry, America will be judged from the day beginning till now. If God would pick, Jesus was born in Spain. In Spain will be judged from that. That's the reason why. Okay, that's another thing we don't have time to go into, but that's something you need to remember that. Okay, so if there was double standard on that, okay, again I say there. Now, however, when the armies went into the Gaza, remember they go to on the ground, right? To go from home to home, right? And first of all, now remember that October 7, after a few days, the Israeli government tell the people they will respond, and the world understands it. And at that time, in fact, the world understands it. Yes, they have the right to defend themselves, right? Unfortunately, in 2 weeks' time, everything turned. Okay, remember that history. Now, when they try to defend themselves, they tell them, hey, we cannot take this evil Hamas anymore, not Gaza, Hamas, right? Remember that. We're going to take this out because it always gives fear to our people. That's what Israel had understand that. In the world, I think at that time, even everybody supported, even USA, everybody supported. Okay, not everybody, but China didn't support it, but anyway, most countries supported. So now, we will never remember that the government of Israel tell the Gaza people, say, hey, listen, the civilian, we give you 48 hours to move south. We're going to attack this area to take out the Hamas. So we give you guys 48 hours, please move. Okay, and they give flyer, they send SMS, they do email, everything. They do really blast. I know that because my friends inside of that, it's kind of open. They tell them to do that. That's actually a normal process of the Israeli government. Whenever that's the operation. I guess that's the model of operation. Okay,
Right.
Now we need to understand now. Did they attack in 48 hours? If you look at history, no, they didn't. They send the troops in about a week later. Now that's just to think about from the army point of view. You do not tell your enemy, I'm going to attack you in 48 hours, so you prepare. And that's kind of crazy already. But they're not only doing that. So for civilian, they understand they don't want to hurt civilian, but they need to take out Hamas. Remember that. Okay. So they give them 48 hours. In fact, that 48 hour extend to be a week. So everybody check the information in that one. Now, however, did all the civilian went out? No, because Hamas deliberately blocked the road for the civilian to go to the south. That's a sad thing. And of course, they don't talk about it. I don't know why the media didn't talk about it, especially the main media don't talk about it. So anyway.
So what you're saying, Jimmy, is Israel announced to the civilian population in Gaza, please leave this area, this area, this area, because this is the Hamas stronghold. We're going to send rockets. We're going to send aircraft. We're going to send tanks and infantry. Please leave this area. Correct. And Hamas blocked the road to the south and said to the civilian population, if you try to get through, we'll shoot you.
Yeah.
So the civilian people living in Gaza have a choice. Do they remain and remain in the place of harm where the Israelis are coming to attack Hamas, or do they get shot by Hamas trying to leave to the south?
Right.
This is their
That's the
their,
fact, the
their
hard life.
situation.
Yeah, that's a hard life.
So what people are not understanding is Hamas is actually using the civilian population of
At
Gaza
the shield.
as a shield to protect itself.
Yeah.
And Israel is faced with a horrible situation. I remember a very simple statement that Golda Meir made many years ago regarding relationship with people who think this way, that their idea is to use the civilian population as shields, to put rocket launchers in hospitals, in
Schools.
preschools, daycare centers, these kinds of things. And Golda Meir, who was the prime minister of Israel, said, we can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. We find it very difficult to forgive the Arabs for forcing us to kill their children.
Yeah.
And what do you do if you're a soldier and your job is to attack an enemy and the enemy has surrounded itself with civilians? The enemy has planted its rocket launchers in hospitals and civilian populations and threatened the civilian population and told them, we'll kill you if you try to leave.
Right.
This is exactly what they're doing, and this is not reported on the news. This is not reported by mainstream media because mainstream media, as we know, has an agenda, a political agenda, which is aligned with the New World Order and attempting to bring about a one world government. And they have an agenda and a purpose in what they are doing, which is to create chaos everywhere. And as Jimmy just said, to make sure that Israel is always painted as the evil ones.
Right.
When Israel were the ones that were attacked in the first place by Hamas on October 7th.
Now, let me add 2 more points for that.
Please
Okay, now
add two
remember,
more points.
I think for sharing this, I want to be very clear. I'm not staying on a position of a political situation here. Okay, nor does a humanism.
Mhm.
You know, like what is, so I'm speaking from, giving some facts and what is our position from the biblical position. Okay,
Mhm.
so the facts are that at least two. I mean, there's many. But there's two. For example, first of all the video you see from many main media, main channel, or the mainstreamers to say, even TikTok, they have people killing the kids and all that. That's you guys heard of Hollywood or Bollywood? There's a Gazawood. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, a lot of them is. Okay, so you look into that, especially the video from TikTok. Okay, so that another thing which is fact. Remember the time that about within a month or so, there was a big hospital, the bomb suit in the hospital, and many people died.
Yeah.
The first thing the whole media said, "Oh, the
Israel
Israelis
did that.
right? The Israeli are the idea of shoot bombs and kill many people in the hospital.
Right.
Okay, Israel. Remember, Israel is remember they have their protocol. They need to check the fact. They cannot go to say anything. So they take a few days to check all the facts and find out all the facts, and then they show to the world. Now, unfortunately, the mainstream don't show that anymore, and everything, just cover up. But the fact is that bomb thing came from Israel. The bomb came from the Hamas people. Something went wrong with the rocket and it shoot into the hospital, and many people died. Unfortunately, many people died, and many of them are civilian. Well, of course, some of them are Hamas, okay, but many of them are civilian, okay. So another thing is, now, okay, that's one thing we need to remember that, okay. So now a second thing is a lot of troops now went into Israel on the ground. They find places like UN, places like school. They under the school, even UN, they use it as a headquarters for Hamas. Okay, just that's a fact. You can check that. And then they go to home. The people who are there get killed. I'm talking about civilian people get killed. Unfortunately, they have many documents. They're going in there and they film it. The home is, well, I would say kind of brainwashed because they have the Qurans open up. They have things to say to kill a Jew. Therefore, is for Allah. So those are the family who stay behind also which would say, of course, they say to be civilian, but they kind of brainwashed on the side of Hamas to be used as a terrorist. So that's unfortunate part. So when the soldier when they go in and they see that you see your civilian coming in with a bomb, you have no choice but you shoot them. So
Mm.
that's also something not presented in the media. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not saying all the civilians are like that. I'm not saying that. There are civilians, unfortunately, casualty.
Mhm.
And that's the horrible thing of the war. Okay, that's the fact of it. Yeah.
Mhm. So, in your experience, Jimmy, do you believe that Israel is attempting to protect the civilian population as much as possible, or are they attempting to murder and annihilate the civilian population in Gaza?
Well, the short answer is yes. They are very serious about the IDF. The way the engagement code for the IDF is very strict. They cannot they're harm civilians.
Mhm.
Okay. Now let me give another example to answer that question. Is it's true? You guys can look it up. Is even there people who are terrorists when they get hurt in whether in Lebanon with Hezbollah or even before Hamas, this terrible terrorist, big Hamas attack, even a few years before, even all this year, when the guys even Hezbollah got hurt or the people got sick, they try whatever it takes to send the people to go to
Israel
smuggle them to go to Israel hospital. Now let me tell you why. Because remember Israel in somewhat. Now I'm not saying it's totally holy yet. They're God is working on that, but in somewhat they still function with some biblical law,
Mhm.
meaning life above all. Meaning whoever get the people into the hospital, whether they are enemy, even they're terrorists. Let me say this: even they are terrorists, it is job
in
have
their
to treat them.
hospital
Yeah, have to treat
try
them.
to help them.
That's right. And then you put them into court. But that's the law.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's go forward a little bit. What do you think God is doing right now? Are we moving toward Ezekiel 38, 37, 38, 39 type of war? How do you perceive what God is doing in the war between now Iran and Israel, and the anti-Semitism that's rising in Europe and United States? How are we to understand that and pray and relate to people as kingdom ambassadors?
That is a very, very deep question. I
Mhm.
appreciate that. I think this is wow. I mean, this is opportunity for I guess the Kingdom Ambassador group here. Not that's a very good question because not many churches talk about this.
Mhm.
This is a very, very, I would say a very it should be in fact it should be a central discussion with all the churches too with this
Mhm.
topic. But so I'm glad that Kingdom Ambassador brings this up. And uh, um, well, it is getting more serious and serious. Of course, deep in our heart, and I know a lot of Christian praying for to up and Lord, please hold on and push back. And we it's okay for us to say that, let's push back the enemy line.
Mhm.
Now, however, we must realize something. What the Bible said, what God's word will be fulfilled.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, when you bring that point on, which is exactly, I think that's one thing really attracts us about Israel and the few thing. But maybe today, because timing, I want to concentrate on one thing, was the concept of Moadim, right? God's appointed time, right? So, and that's important because when you talk about Ezekiel 38, 39 is God's appointed time. I mean, why? Because God said it in the book of, in the book.
Mhm.
So, meaning that I hope the church is, which I see already, there's a lot of hope. The church is already, the ecclesia is really restoring
Mhm.
God's the more and more understanding. Of course, starting from Israel, you need to go to Israel to or at least to have a search to have enough information on the YouTube now also, which is good. Hallelujah. First, to understand God's purpose for Israel.
Mhm.
Okay, not Israel alone, but God's purpose for Israel. That's the
Mhm.
first thing to start from. Okay,
Mhm.
and from there, what you're asking is the timing, and understand what is God's timing. The Moedim we're talking about, and what is God's covenant. Another thing we can talk about. I think, on Kingdom Ambassador, I suppose, and you talk about what the meaning of holy, of course, but let's talk about Moedim here. the attack in October 7, 2023, I want everybody to know. Now, of course, with our Gregorian calendar, we don't get it. But go back to the biblical calendar, you will see, the day of that attack, 50 years ago, exactly 50 years ago, that was the Yom Kippur at the attack in 1973. Exactly 50 years. So, do the enemy also pick the time? Suppose, if even the enemy understand God's time, should us as believers should at least to look into that? I think that's important. I think that's idea also what Israel presents is the kingdom of God. Again, not about Israel, but the God of Israel. So now, what's happening now, the escalation is incredible, right? We know that on, is it Monday, October 1st? What day is that? I don't remember now.
It's Monday.
Monday?
October 7th. Yeah.
Okay, so Monday, Israel faced this most severe attack ever since 1948. Okay, so 1948. So it went in about close to 400 rocket. But remember, I think 20 or 30 of them are ballistic missile, which means they're as big as a school bus. Serious stuff. And the enemy have figured out a way to overload the Iron Dome. So now there are talks. So we need to be very careful and pray for God's protection, for both actually, for Israel, for the Arabs, a very, very tough time. Especially we have friends, guys. We have friends in Israel. There are Arab Christian friends, our brothers. It's very tough for them. You think the Israelis are tough? Also, don't forget, the Arab believers are also probably most tough. They're the remnant of the remnant of the remnant. Right. So is in Lebanon, right? So is in Jordan and Syria. They have also our brothers there. So we need to pray for all that, for God's protection, for all the people. So well, even for an enemy, to turn their
even there's been a huge move of God in Iran.
Sure.
So we know that now in Iran there are many believers and followers of Yeshua in Iran.
I have statistics,
and yet these guys are being used by their government against their own wishes to do something they probably don't believe in.
Sure. Yes. Of course, we also have other sources. Statistics show that Iran is probably now one of the fastest growing Christian believers, in the way in the world, which is quite encouraging. Which is hallelujah, right? The darkest time, the brightest time. So it's something that, this is just really watching the supernatural realm playing out. Correct. So Ezekiel 38-39 talk about, of course, if you understand that, he's talking about the attack of the North group, which we believe was a combination of Iran, Turkey. Already Turkey, the Prime Minister of Turkey already said that 2 days ago from Erdogan. In fact, he's kind of hilarious. He called the BB, the Prime Minister of Israel, and compare him to, he's their modern Hitler. I said, that's interesting because, you don't compare Hitler with Jewish people, but they said that. So that's, very, what do you use the word? Disinformation. Crazy stuff, right?
I would use the word silly.
Silly, yes, it is silly. It is, really silly. But however, I think that's just my personal understanding, is I think before 38, 39, I think there's few things, just my only personal understanding, and please, don't, trust what I said. If I hope I could give you information, you look at look at it yourself. But go back to the Bible. I believe the first, for that happen, a few things that have to happen. Psalm 83, all the neighbor country have to gang together to attack Israel. That's Psalm 83. No, by the grace of God, with our faith, Yeshua, Jesus, still the king. At that war, Israel win over. Okay, so now it is really bad in Middle East now, but it's not the fullness of Psalm 83 yet. But it could be escalate in a very fast. Okay, so watch for that, pray for that. Okay, which means Egypt, Yemen, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, they're all, and now Iran, of course, behind that is big Iran. So, and so watch Psalm 83, what's happening. Read Psalm 83 and see what you think, okay? And then the next thing I think we need to understand is also Isaiah 17. When you talk about, strange phenomenon, talk about the country, the city of Damascus, which is 4,000 years old. We know, because Abraham, the time of Abraham, Damascus there already. So it talks about Isaiah 17, talk about one night, Damascus no more. Now, there are talks in Israel about using, unfortunately, the word "end," the nuclear options, towards this war with Iran. Now, if we read the Bibles, go back to some Isaiah 17. If you talk about Damascus be gone in one night, I mean, that's the only possible solution to that is you nuke it, right? I mean, that's now. If they use nuke it again, the nuclear, hey, don't forget, it's about 75 years. The world have never used nuclear weapons. I mean, this is going to be serious, right? I mean, of course, American, the election coming up, we need to pray for that too. All these things building up here. Now, I'm not trying to give people, especially us, we're a believer, not to give us a picture of fear, but instead we should, as kingdom ambassador, we should really rise up and say, Lord, Abba God, you are still the king of the universe. Will you first, may your will to be done and protect the people here. So, but it is serious. Psalm 83, Damascus no more. Look for that. If that's not happening, if that's happening, we see in the news, or maybe I call you in Israel. Hopefully it doesn't happen when we're in Israel. But anyway, we're going to be there for about a month. So pray for us. That's serious. I think after that, then we're looking at Ezekiel 38, 39. So that's our little understanding. But watch for that. It could be anytime.
Let me ask you one more question, and then we're gonna celebrate our covenant meal.
Yes.
And let people go to small groups and pray.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: when you go to Israel, how do the Jewish people who live there permanently receive you, or how do they view you? Do they look at you as outsiders, or how are they relating to you at this point?
Yali, you want to throw that in? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good question. And can I answer in two parts?
I guess so.
Okay. I have many friends. We live in Israel, so a lot of good heart Christian who love Israel. Even pastor come to visit us. And one of the top 10 questions they always ask is this: how do we preach to the gospel to the Jew? And what is the most blockage? What is the most challenge of blockage that blocks the gospel to the Jew? And my answer to them, sometimes surprise them, is, well, that is the most blockage. Meaning your intention is, I want to convert them. Well, don't do that. Because it's not about number game. It's not about, winning, like I need to win you up, It's not about that. It's about really loving them. That's something we learned from that.
Right.
So and I want to share this with my brother and sister here. And I think what they need, especially now with the craziness, in Israel, whether with the Arabs or the Jewish people, I guess we walk in love. I think that's the biggest piece of the gospel. So that's something I wanted to refer to, that to lay the ground. Now, and I can give example for that. And for example, we were there was before the war. There's always resistance. I would say resistant. Okay, you Jewish guy, you're Jewish people and you're Christian, don't convert our people. Okay, so that is all there. Now, however, I came from a business background. We do business in Jerusalem. So the business opened up different portal to different gates to that. So we talk in a more business way and professional way, and they don't really think about that much. But as far as we talk about putting your cross on the forehead, well, don't do that first, because that can hinder you. But I want to relate back to what's happening in Israel this year. When we go back there in Passover, when we went back, me and my wife went back there to celebrate Passover. Normally we're there for Passover and for Sukkot. And the building, our friends, you know, two family came out and hugged us, give a big hug. You know, they're all Jewish people, and one older man is 80 something year now, and he's in fact from New York, who make Aliyah, which moved, you know, live now in Israel, and his name is Norman, Dr. Norman. He hugs me, and I guess I was overwhelmed because, you know, I was, you know,
He didn't do that before.
yeah, they're good friend, you know, but you know, this time they make cakes for us,
Mhm.
and you know, they bring cakes for us this time and give us wine. I'm thinking, and invite us to celebrate the Shabbat, not just to start the fire for them, you know. You know, not the Gentile. Just you know, we forgot to turn out the light. No, they really enjoy bring us to celebrate
To
Shabbat.
be one with them, to be
Yeah.
part of their family.
Right. So to answer that is, when you go to Israel, when you have Israeli or Jewish people invite you to go to a 5-star hotel, that's great. But that is just normal business. Okay, not to be so excited about. However, if they invite you to go to their home for dinner or Shabbat, that is God opening the door, say, brother, I welcome you. Remember, that's because they always think about safety. If Shabbat, you bring it in, they bring the whole family there. You know, if you pull out your gun, they're done. And so they really have to trust you in some way. So to answer you, somehow the barrier break down, because when Norman hugs me, I say, you know, wow, thank you, Norman. I mean, I don't know what I can do for Israel. And he said something that really touched my heart. He said, Jimmy, the reason you're here already enough. And that really touches our heart. So I encourage people, you know, really, please pray for Israel. If God opens the way, well, you know,
Well, they live
yeah.
there. That's their home.
yeah, that's my home.
You
So yeah,
chose to go there.
right.
And
Right.
so that touches them because they say, well, you don't have to come into this place where there's a war.
Mhm.
You could stay in Texas. You could stay in Vancouver. These places are much more safe at the moment. Why do you choose to come here to Jerusalem to be with us in the middle of a war? That's the question they have to ask.
Yeah.
And the only answer in the end is because we love you,
Yeah.
because we love the God of Israel.
Yeah.
And I think that touches their heart. And that is a more powerful message than you need to receive Jesus or you're going to hell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, guys. I sent my message to Sandy, to Suri, and to a friends who live in the apartment. I tell them we're coming, and they say, Jimmy, welcome home. So, you know, that really touches our heart. You know, it's like, hey, we're excited to see you guys. Is Yali coming? Are the kids coming? You know, and there's because Rebecca and Isaac was there, so we really feel touched.
So I found this as an ambassador, as a kingdom ambassador, you can go anywhere in the world and be received if you go with a heart of love.
Yeah.
And what I found, we have in our lifetime had the opportunity to bring many Jewish people into relationship with Messiah, and many Muslim people into relationship with Messiah. And we found the way that happened is when we dwelt among them, we prayed for them, we blessed them, we met their needs. And then when they trusted us, they began to ask questions.
Yeah.
They began to say, you have some kind of relationship with God that we don't see, is not common. Please share with me. What is that? How does that work? So I found evangelism works best when they ask. And they begin to ask once they're convinced you don't have an agenda. You're just trying to do the best you can to figure out how to relate to God, and they want what you have.
Amen.
And it sounds like
That's a
you're very
privilege.
close to that with the neighbors in your building where you are there, that they are now saying, come, share dinner with us. When we're in trouble, let's all pray Psalm 91 together. We all believe that. And then as they see your life, they say, how do we have the kind of connection you have?
Yeah. Because I think in their, that's a really good point, because it's in their heart, they know. Remember,
They know.
You know, a lot of these guys are educated, you know, they're serious about, I'm not saying all, but, you know, in fact, you need to pray for Israel too. About 20% a believer, 80% actually they are a secular. but
Sure.
even secular, without here and there, they still have some context of the Bible.
Yeah.
So most of them understand Zechariah 12:3, which our friend also mentioned yesterday. All nations will come gather and come against Israel.
Yeah.
So somehow they understand that. But at the same time, in Zechariah, they also say there were days the Lord will restore Israel and the Gentiles will come, and celebrate together, in which we are there. We have celebrated Sukkot together. We put, in fact, we put the sukkah together, and our neighbor, they put the sukkah, we have 2 or 3 guys put sukkah, but they buy it from the Home Depot thing,
Home Depot kit.
Right. So we every year we take the trouble to go down to a market to buy the palm tree. We have the palm tree. We bought 20 palm tree, and then deliberately I put 4 leaf on the corner. Okay. Now we are at the top of the roof. So when the wind at nighttime, Jerusalem is windy. So the palm tree is waving. It's like, I want to simply like, you know what that means? Bow Yeshua, bow. Come, Yeshua, come. So I use that, to explain it. I said, why do you do that? Well, I'm using this to bring in Mashiach, come. I mean, they could relate to that.
Of course.
So, we know it could come, Jesus, come. That's what we do. So anyway, that was, so they were, that something was really special to us.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, I think we better wrap up for this time. And we always like to close our time with a covenant meal to celebrate the covenant that we have, because we have been grafted into the covenant that was made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah that was spoken about in Jeremiah 31, verse 31 and following. And we know that that happened by the blood of Messiah, Yeshua. And he said in Matthew chapter 26, the Bible tells us while they were eating, Yeshua took some bread, and after blessing it, he broke it. He gave it to the disciples, and he said, take, eat. This is my body. And so we are celebrating the covenant that we have by the body and blood of Messiah, Yeshua, that was broken for us that we might be healed, that was put to death that we might receive life. So today, receive life, receive healing, receive whatever you need that has been made available by covenant as we celebrate the fact that we are grafted in to this new covenant that was made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, and every one of us who are not natural born sons of Abraham, we are adopted, grafted in sons of Abraham by the blood of Messiah. So, Father, we thank you for the body of Messiah that was broken, that was put to death, that we might be whole and that we might be full of life. We receive that covenant. We acknowledge it. We thank you for it. And we receive all your provision of it in the name of Yeshua. Let's receive the bread. And likewise, it says after supper, Yeshua asked for a cup to be passed to him.
Yes.
After around the circle.
No, it doesn't say that. And when he had taken a cup and given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. And I always love to talk about 3 areas of forgiveness. This blood was poured out, first of all, that you might be forgiven for your sin. There's nothing outside the blood of Messiah, nothing you can do that cannot be forgiven. And what that means is Yeshua paid and took punishment upon himself that was due to you because of your sin. So that's the first area. Father, is there any area? Have I had a wrong attitude? Have I yelled and screamed at somebody, dishonored somebody, taken somebody's value? Have I stolen? Have I lied? Father, is there something I need to be forgiven for? Because today I accept the blood of Messiah to be enough to pay for my sin. The second area many people struggle with, they believe God has forgiven them, but they struggle to forgive themselves. Many people say it's been, what I did is so terrible, I can never forgive myself. Well, when you're doing that, you're placing yourself outside the blood of Messiah and saying, my sin is somehow so great that the blood of Messiah covers everybody else's sin, but not mine. And so I can't forgive myself. Today is the day to say, Lord, your blood is enough. I agree with you. Today, I forgive myself.
Yes, Lord.
I will no longer hold myself accountable because Yeshua paid the price and your blood is enough. Today I forgive me. The third area is the blood of Messiah was also poured out to forgive every person who sinned against you. So if God brings somebody to your mind that stole from you, cheated you, lied about you, abandoned you, betrayed you, abused you, violated you, that person cannot pay. They can't make it right. Yeshua paid the price for them. He took punishment upon himself that in your heart you go, that person should pay. That person should be punished for what they did. Today, would the blood of Messiah be enough to pay for what that person did? To steal from you, betray you, lie, sin, hurt you? And the answer is yes. Lord, we want to say yes, your blood is enough. So today, if God brings to your mind somebody that hurt you, somebody that betrayed you, stole from you, lied about you, abused you, today is the day to say, Yeshua, I allow you to pay for that person's sin against me. Your blood is enough. Because you paid today, I forgive my father, my mother. I forgive unjust authorities. I forgive people who did wrong. So 3 areas. Lord, forgive me. Today, I agree with you and forgive myself. And today, I forgive every other person who sinned against me because you made a covenant with me and you took punishment upon yourself that I deserved and that every person who sinned against me also deserved.
Yes.
So today, I ask you to forgive me. I receive that forgiveness and I forgive myself and I forgive every other person who sinned against me. In the name of Yeshua, let's receive the cup.
Amen.
Thank you, Jimmy and Yali.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And
Thank
we're going to allow people to go to small groups and pray with each other and pray for whatever God shows them that needs prayer. And afterwards, we'll have just a short time, maybe if people want to ask questions, ask you something, we'll have a time for that.